on this. Okay, then I'm going to share my screen. All right, can you see my screen?
I can.
All right, let me share the sound. All right, let's get us started. I'm going to turn it
Okay.
to you.
Next up, Amber Spears. She's an internet marketing expert. So if you're a business owner, definitely watch Amber because she has lots of great tips to help you grow your business. Amber, it's such a pleasure to be with you today. Thank you for coming.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited about this.
Awesome. So to start, tell me about yourself and tell me about your businesses.
All my businesses are based on my relationships. So I grew up in a very unique situation. My dad was a pastor / missionary, and he married my mom, who was a Mexican citizen. And he basically took us all over Mexico, all over Arizona, open air preaching and converting people to Christ. And I watched my dad also turn into a struggling entrepreneur, a failed entrepreneur, really. I watched him, have so much conviction for things and just really struggle to implement things in his personal life. And then as I, grew up, I didn't have a lot of stability because I went to 4 different high schools. I moved 27 times before I was 13.
Wow.
There's so much
Wow.
so much chaos, and it was really hard to build relationships. And it wasn't until I went to college. I was the first person in my family on both sides to graduate from high school and go to college and graduate college.
I have chills. That's amazing.
Yeah. It was hard being the first one, not knowing how to fill out FAFSA forms or what my school load would look like or anything like that. And I was going to school full time on scholarship, and I also started a couple businesses while I was in college. And I was also working as a server at the Olive Garden. I was working as a nanny. I started my own kind of entertainment company while I was in school. Eventually, I started working for my business partner now. I was her first employee, and it was at a search engine optimization company where I was selling SEO door to door to businesses that did not want what I was selling because, they were paying decks and yellow pages, thousands of dollars a month. And they were like, why would I need Google when I'm already paying decks and yellow pages and I'm trying to paint the picture of the future, right? Like, hey, just so you know, in the future, people are going to go on Google and they're going to search for your restaurant or your vet hospital or whatever. And, this is the future. And so that's how I started with online marketing, was selling door to door. And I ended up being good at it because I was unafraid to talk to people. When you're the new kid all the time, everywhere you go, you start to be unafraid. Then I appreciated the stability of that. And I got good at building relationships with people that would give me referrals. And eventually I ended up starting a business with my business partner now, who was my boss then. And it was all based on my relationships. We started an affiliate marketing agency. And from there, I started a mastermind company, which was also based on my relationships and community building. And now I have another consulting firm. So we've built all 3 businesses on community and relationships. And as former homeschool kid that was just dragged from one end of the country to the other and never really had any stability, it's been such a blessing to be able to make money with my friends and with my partners that I know, like, and trust.
Your story is so fun and interesting and cool. I don't know. I mean, there's so much. You have 3 businesses now. How do you do that? And how do you spend time running each one? Do they all combine together? And then give us a little more specifics about, I don't know, pick one or tell us about 3. Like, I want to dive deeper into what you do now.
Yeah, that's a good question. I think 2 of my businesses are more mature, right? So I think that helps when you have a team in both businesses and they've been running for a long time. That's something that helps me a lot. And each business kind of has its own seasons. So the main company is East Fifth Avenue. That was the first company that we started with my business partner. It has an agency component where we basically act as your sales team, reach out to other influencers, people that have products or books or supplements that they want launched. We basically help you do that. And we reach into our network of around 9,000 affiliate partners that we work with. So if you come to me and you're like, hey, Amber, I want to launch a supplement, then I'll say, okay, great. I've got a bunch of people that would be interested in promoting you. And so we do that there. And then we also have an education component where we train your in-house teams to do what we do, because we're big believers in growing your business in that way. That has a lot of stability because we've had that company now for 6 years. So it's a little bit different. I do strategy. I do, speaking engagements like this, or I speak from stage at traffic and conversion or things like that. Right. And then I've got the mastermind where I take 7, 8, and 9-figure entrepreneurs to really cool places like Cabo or Miami or Nicaragua. And we break bread together. We pull back the kimonos on our businesses and share what's working or not working with each other. And that's a really fun, thing for me to do, is spend time with other business owners in that way. And then we end up finding that a lot of people there end up becoming clients of ours or partners of ours. So it just kind of feeds on top of each other. And those businesses are just much more stable. So when it's about time to do an event, I'm busy with that Mimosa Mastermind, with that company, because it requires more of my attention. And the new company that we started with my business mentor and coach started at the very beginning of COVID. We're like, we should do another event, a different type of event. And then COVID shut everything down. So we turned it into consulting in a different way. So he owns 11 different businesses. One's a 9-figure business, multiple 8-figure businesses, and his specialty is scale. So he helps people scale their businesses. And then I come in and plug in my relationships with those people and help them build that. So that company's taking up a little bit more of my attention because it's newer and it's him and I, right? So it's kind of the idea of things being really balanced, I think, is not really what I look at. It's more how things are in harmony, because I'm not spending like 10 hours, a week on this business, 10 hours a week on this business. Right now, it's like 20 hours a week here and 5 hours a week here. And, it just kind of all works together because we have systems now and teams and each individual company.
Oh, it's so fun to listen to you. And before the interview, I was like, Amber Spears, I know that name. So it's interesting. It's a small world, and I've seen you out there. So it's exciting to hear what you're presenting. So the series talks a lot to women, and you have your reach in lots of different things. What are you finding about women in online marketing, in business, in women in money? Like, tell us your insight, because you do have kind of the global scope of it all.
For me, as a female entrepreneur, it's been really nice to see that the rooms that I'm coming into are changing, right? Especially as an internet marketer. It used to be that me and my business partner Alona were the only ones in the room. I was the only woman in the green room. It was, if there's a conference with 30 speakers, it might be me and one other woman. And now I'm starting to see that change, and I just think that's really exciting. We've hit a point now where we are commanding more attention and respect in the industry, and I'm seeing so many more women starting businesses with our consulting clients. It used to be like 95% male. We're starting to see a shift in that, where it's becoming more like 30-70, which I really love to see. At my mastermind events, I always made it a point to go and recruit in women. I think we have a responsibility as women to go out and recruit them in, not just, say that we want women here. We have to go out and actively invite them and tell them why we want them in. And also, I'm a big believer in not just opening doors for women, opening the doors and holding the door open and really helping them as much as I can with contacts and resources, right? So it's not just lip service. It's something that I really believe in and try to actively do when I'm picking speakers for my live events, or when I'm picking speakers to come in and talk to my online communities. I'm also being really aware of making sure that we have women, and not just women to be lip service, right? But women that are at the top of their game that need more exposure. And so that's kind of how I think through things. And I'm not someone that says if there's a man that's better at a certain category, I'm going to pick the woman just to pick the woman, but there are so many incredible female entrepreneurs that are doing a phenomenal job that just need more exposure, more amplification. And they're just going to take off on their own when people see how good they are at those things. So I'm a big believer in that.
Well, you're reminding me something I learned early on in my career, that women don't necessarily, it's not our superpower to brag or to tell everyone what we do. And it's something we're kind of needing to learn to do it in a graceful, beautiful way. But our natural state is to, oh, our work will precede us. We don't need to tell others what we do. We don't need to go out there and say it. But it's interesting because I'm interested that you actually have to recruit women, and that goes to, like, women are so powerful, incredible, but you have to recruit them.
Right.
So what have you done to kind of put yourself out there that you think is kind of maybe unnatural for us as women?
Yeah, I love that you said that, because that's actually something me and my business partner talk about a lot. Is sometimes we can get triggered by, someone coming out and being like, "Oh, I do a successful launch," and you're now a guru charging like exorbitant amounts of money. And there was a point in time of our career that we're just like, why are we getting so triggered? And I think part of that is because we have not given ourselves permission. There's something happening here where we feel uncomfortable with the what feels like it's bragging, right? That's what it feels like. And so I think it's getting comfortable with your results and getting comfortable talking about your results, and not looking at it as bragging, but looking at it as establishing the fact that you are an expert, and it helps establish your credibility. And so, for any woman watching that thinks like, "Oh, I feel really uncomfortable with that, feels braggy," we also have to be competitive and ask for the business, and part of that is being confident and showing and showcasing your skills. And so I look at it more as like a case study than I do of it bragging. And I really want to give myself permission to do that, because I do believe that I am the best in the world at what I do. And I want to carry that confidence through.
I just have to stop you right there and say, when you say that, it gives me joy. When you feel it and you say you're the best at what you do, I just light up because I can feel that, and it feels so opposite from bragging. It feels like you're so confident and you inspire others to greatness. It's so awesome.
Took me a long time to get here. It took me hundreds of launches, hundreds of clients, right, to get to that point. And I think that's the part that, if I could do things again, it would be feeling more comfortable talking about these things, increasing my rates, firing clients that treated me poorly, all these things sooner, because I didn't need to prove it 100 times that I was an expert. I probably could have done it after 20 times of doing it successfully, right? And so I think that has come with time. And I had this very high limit in my head, like, I'm an expert when, and it was probably a much higher threshold than I think, in general, men, right, would think would be a threshold for expertise. And so I would just encourage us as women. It's like, like at what point would you consider anyone an expert in this? And then that would be the point that you should allow yourself to show these case studies and to feel confident coming into a room, to feel confident teaching. At that point, that should be the time that you're increasing your rates, right? And that you're letting go of the bad clients, letting go of the bad team members, because that just shows like what you're willing to tolerate. And I think my tolerance has gotten a lot lower for things like that as my confidence increases.
We can feel that. It's fabulous. So what would you, let's say someone watching at home has a small business and they're not getting a lot of attention and they need more clients or customers, what would you recommend?
For me, I believe that partnership marketing, and there's a lot of different forms of this, right? There's affiliate marketing, there's joint venture marketing, there's partnership marketing, performance marketing. They're all essentially the same thing. Influencer marketing, it's all the same thing. I think at the end of the day, it's referral-based marketing. Right? And I think that's the oldest form of marketing that there is. You think about, if hundreds of years ago, someone was bringing, their wares over via ship, they had a guy that unloaded the ship. They had a guy that, sold their wares in the shop, right? So it was a referral based thing. And that's the same thing that I would be focusing on if I was a small business owner is saying I may not have a bunch of money to spend on learning Facebook ads and paying for every single click and every single eyeball. I'm prepaying for that without knowing if they're going to become an actual customer of mine. But I do have the ability to think through what avatar am I serving? So who am I serving? And what other services do those people use, right? So let's say that I might be a gym owner and I might have a lot of women in my gym. And I might think to myself, okay, I have 70% women in my gym. What other things do these women use, right? So they might use the hairdresser up the street. They might be using the daycare center up the street. They might be busy moms, right? They might use an HVAC service, a pest control company, right? All these different things, and really kind of thinking through who serves my avatar and who can I collaborate with to send leads my direction, clients my direction. How am I going to track that so I can make sure that I'm paying them for their referrals and motivating them, and thinking through who has the most amount of customers to send to me, right? So if it's a busy hair salon, I'm going to focus on the busiest one, right? Not the one with the least amount of foot traffic. And just really kind of getting through that. When I first started my career, I was in BNI. I don't know if you know what that is, but it's a Business Networking International. And if you're a local company, I would suggest looking at BNI, looking at NABO, the National Association of Women Business Owners, joining EO, which is all local. And when you're in these groups and things like BNI, for example, you meet weekly with a group of local people, and you have one real estate guy, one insurance guy, one chiropractor, and you all send leads to each other and you track it every week, right? So you become the expert in that, and you're in the local area. Same thing in so many different ways, so many different groups locally. So you can do that. If you are an online business owner, or you can go globally or internationally or nationally, then I would be joining these different groups and becoming really present in there and having them refer me, because that really doesn't cost you anything other than your time, your energy, and your effort, and some really low fees. And I've made millions of dollars for first the companies that I worked for, and then myself, setting up these referral programs and kind of picking what places I should be, where I should be at and who I should be influencing and who I could be working with.
Oh, it's such incredible advice. And it's doable and it doesn't cost, like you said, it's your energy and time.
Right.
I'd love to hear one of your favorite stories about someone you've helped and what happened.
I think a really recent one for me, a couple years ago, we threw a live event called Deal Making Live, and I had a bunch of my clients get together for 2 days in a room, and we would get them out of their comfort zone and have them come up in front of the stage and like pitch their offers and ask for traffic and do all that stuff. And there was a guy in there who his name was Tony Casandrino. So he was in the military, and he wanted to start this business. It was an olive oil company. His family owned olive oil trees in Greece. And he knew nothing about online marketing. He knew nothing about anything. I mean, he was full time in the military. He was hitting his 20-year mark. And he came to this event and he was like, I'm going to learn everything about affiliate marketing, and I'm going to do this for my family's olive oil trees. And he now has a very large multi seven figure business, all from affiliate marketing. And it all stemmed from that one event. He ended up retiring 6 months later, and now his sister works in the business full time, and half of his family works in the business, and it is growing like a weed. They're now in Singapore and China. They're wholesaling all of the world. They're doing all these things through partnership marketing, and it's just so cool to see that. It's so cool to see a family transformed in that way, and to see an idea, a thought become an actual business, and to be friends with him. I see him all the time now at different events. He's in masterminds with me, and they're just such great people. And it's just so cool to see that come from one live event, one idea, and to watch someone implement it and take off is just so exciting to me.
A dream come true for him.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I love it.
Any advice for women thinking about their worth and money, and someone who maybe needs a little of your guidance?
I come from a very poor background. Like I said, my dad was a struggling entrepreneur, and we really relied on the donations of the church, and we were on food stamps, and my family is from a very poor part of Mexico. We had dirt floors and no running water, like poor, right? And it wasn't until probably 5 years ago that I really started understanding and being comfortable with money. And part of that was when I first started making money, I would just hoard it. I'd hoard all the cash, and then I hired a wealth advisor from Northwestern Mutual and sold me all these mutual funds. And I was thinking he was going to take good care of me. And then I started, really feeling intimidated by things like P&Ls and tax returns and all these things. And so for a long time, I'd make money and I'd either store it and just feel like that was safety, or I would, outsource it to people that I thought were smarter than me, right? Smarter with me than money. And eventually I got to the point where I was like, I just need to educate myself better. I really need to do a better job of educating myself. So I started taking courses on things like, index funds and the stock market, and learning my own investments with cryptocurrency, and figuring out how to, buy my first investment house, and now I'm learning, like, okay, I have properties and I can use those properties to leverage them and not sell my stocks or my cryptocurrencies, and use my current assets to then purchase, new stuff, right? And not drain my accounts or feel like I'm going backwards to buy this property, and figuring out taxes and laws. And now I'm speaking, I'm not an expert, but I can be in a room and I can be unafraid of what's being said and understand that more, and asking for help, and learning and teaching myself things like credit scores and taxes and mortgages and all these things. And it was really overwhelming at first, but I just picked one thing and I just tried learning that. And then I started feeling comfortable asking my mentors and business partners and friends that I was meeting at these things that were far more successful than me, and just being like, how did you like get this house? Or, are you leasing your car, or did you buy it? Just kind of starting to ask questions. I'm thinking about this. What do you think? Like, and being open and humbling myself and saying, I don't know much about this. Will you teach me? And it's been game changing for me. But I think growing up, my mother never knew anything about the finances of our house. Like, it was split. It was like my dad's the provider, even though he's not a great provider. He's the provider, and he's the patriarch, and he's the boss, and my mom is, running the household, and they're two separate things. And I just think that as women, we should, regardless of whether our, partners are great providers or not, we should know what's happening inside of our personal finances. We should know what's happening inside of the finances of the business. And we should know that, not everybody was born with all this knowledge. They learned it in time, and really just trying to learn one thing at a time. And then you'll start to see how all the kind of dots connect together.
I can't even tell you how much I love what you just said. And I see you got your power back with money.
Yeah, it was so intimidating for me, So I just felt like I felt so scared of money. Like, I had this really interesting relationship with it, where I was making a lot of money, but then I had all this fear of like losing it or making mistakes with my money. And so I thought these other people were going to be better at it. And the reality is no one cares more about my money than me.
What do you think of what's your relationship with money now? How do you see?
I see it as freedom. And I really do see it as freedom of choice. I can travel anywhere. I just helped my cousin buy a car and paid for his semester in college. I can make that decision, right? I can do those things, and I'm not staying up at night worrying that I'm not going to have enough to, pay the mortgage, or I'm not going to have enough to, if I want to do IVF, or I want to do something expensive. Like, I have the ability to do that, and I have a really clear path of, if I ever wanted to retire, I may or may not. I love working, so much, but I might want to work less. But I have a clear plan, and no matter what's happening in the markets, no matter what's happening in the businesses, I've set myself up for success, and I feel very free from that. And it's something that I wish for every woman. Like, I wish it for every single one, because I know how much it drained me, and I didn't realize how much every day I was waking up fearful, and how my battery was like drained every single day, and how differently I feel now when I wake up.
So wonderful. The series is called The Millionaire Within Her. What does that make you want to share with everybody?
Such a good question. It was like it was even like a little, this is the part where I'm seeing where I'm being stretched, right? Like that's where I noticed that when I was asked. I was like, ooh, like, do I want to publicly talk about this? Like, I felt very stretched by that.
Yeah, when this first started, and I come from my financial background, someone said it's easy to be rich, and I was like, God's gonna strike you down. Like, we're talking about money here, publicly talking about money, how women love money. Like, wow. But this is why we're doing this, Amber. It should be something we can talk about with our girlfriends. We should give each other advice and love this. So I'm so happy you shared that. I love that.
Yeah, it was, even the name was a stretch for me. I was like, man, like, my first thoughts were, you know, what is my family gonna think, right? They're gonna see that I'm in here, like, what is my team gonna think? And then I started thinking about, I was like, what do I think about it? And I was like, what a cool opportunity as, a first generation low income college student, first person to graduate from high school, first person to go to college, like I was the second person in my family to hit six figures, for the first time. My mom hit it a couple years in front of me as a real estate agent. I think there's so much shame around money, and I just wonder why there is so much shame around it. There's shame around making too much, and there's shame around making too little, and it's like this whole, it's just so mentally overwhelming sometimes. And yeah, I felt very stretched, and I'm really glad you asked me, and I'm really grateful to be talking about it. And I would, again, just encourage any woman watching to know that there's no shame in your ambition. There's no shame in wanting to grow a company that touches people all over the world, wanting to have a legacy. There's nothing wrong with that. It should be celebrated, and it should be encouraged. And that, when it comes to money itself, how it really can be so freeing, and it really can give you experiences that you never could have imagined. Like, I'm still so grateful every time I walk into a five-star resort or hotel. Every time, I'm still blown away every time. Like, even though we're, in this industry, that's where we stay, that's what we do, right? Like, I'm still blown away every time we go to a Michelin star, right? Every time I'm so blown away. It's like like every time I go first class, I'm still blown away. It's like that feeling of gratitude, and also knowing, like, that I can afford it, and that I'm still going to I'm still safe, even though I'm spending money, and that every year I get better, and it becomes easier for me to make money, and easier for me to keep money, and easier for my money to keep growing, because I spent time, energy, and effort on myself as an entrepreneur, but also on myself internally, and feeling like I was worthy of success, feeling like I was worthy of money, feeling that my ambition was something to be celebrated, not something to be snuffed out. And it really is something that I know that I had a little bit of like friction about the name and the series, and I'm like, oh, that's something I should look at. That's something I should look at. Again, I think it stems back to, I don't want to look like I'm bragging too much, or I'm pompous, or like, I didn't want that. And then I started thinking about, I was like, is me sharing my story, is that pompous? Is that bragging? No, it's not. And if I can help someone think about money differently, or think about their business differently, then I really want to do that.
You know what it is? It's inspiring. It teaches us. And you are such a beautiful role model. So stand proud and I think you should talk about billions. Like, let's keep going. So you are just such a great teacher, and to see you out in our eyes, just thank you for coming, and thank you for sharing your story.
I really appreciate it. It's really an absolute honor to be speaking to you and to be included in this cohort. There's women I know you've interviewed that I look to as mentors and that are dear friends, and I am just so honored to be included.
Amber, you're the best. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I appreciate you.
As you can see, no matter what your business is, Amber has something definitely you can use to help grow your brand.
So what'd you think, Miss Debbie?
I'm blown away. This is what I just watched. My husband asked what blew me away. He didn't know I had earbuds in and was watching this video.
That's very discerning when you start talking and people can't hear what you're hearing.
Yeah, it's like I'm talking to myself. The things that she talked about with her background and women being so reluctant to share their story and share successes because we don't want to sound like we're bragging. We were taught not to do that.
Yes.
And really what we need to do is be supporting each other and be sharing those successes, because it tells other women around us, and especially younger generations, that's okay. It's okay for you to make a good salary. It's okay for you to be a millionaire. If you can do that, rock it.
But see, we don't talk about these things even with our children. And that's why there is such a, it's harder for women because we don't talk about money. But even with our boy children, they don't know what success is, because when you are not wealthy people talk about how they made their wealth. They talk about what they do, their investments. They
Yes.
talk about those things. All we talk about growing up is the cost of gas, the cost of this, we don't have this, or we can't do this, we can't have that. Those are the things we talk about, and it just keeps perpetuating
Yes.
the problem. Instead of saying, okay, we can't afford to do this today. What steps can we take that we can start doing things so that we can have that tomorrow or next week?
Yeah. So if you can't afford to go on vacation this year, how do you save up the money or work toward that to get there next year? Improving your situation. Yeah.
Right. But we're not taught to do that. And
right.
That is part of my, at 64 years old, I was a teacher's kid. I grew up very, very poor in a single parent home on a teacher's salary. So, we didn't have anything.
Yeah.
My mother didn't complain, but yet again, I was always told no. There wasn't.
You couldn't. Yeah.
I still to this day don't go clothes shopping because I didn't learn how to do that. My aunt from New York sent us all our clothes. I never. Oh. And she was eclectic. And so it was not the styles that the girls were wearing at school.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't learn how to shop. I didn't learn how to enjoy, learn that. And I guess maybe it's a good thing because I'm not a shopaholic. Right. It's just the thing is that us as women, we trap ourselves in so many of these things. And so at 64, I'm finally breaking free of I found some of my areas that even, I don't know how much of my story, I was part of, that I sold over $150,000 in Avon at one point. Mm-hmm. And so I was part of the council and that, but me personally making that, you can sell all that kind of stuff, but what you personally make and do, I never really accepted that I could make more than kind of like my mother did as a teacher. So it didn't matter how much I sold. I either had people that I had employees, I had girls I paid to do stuff. I had, helpers, I did well, but I could never get past a certain area. So I've started working with mentors to help me break. And what it is, it's a limitation of money. It's where you have a belief that you're either not worthy or that you're not supposed to make anymore. If 50,000 is what you're supposed to make, if that's all that your family ever made, that's what you're supposed to make. And until you face it and deal with it, you won't. But we don't talk about these things.
Right.
So this is what I want to bring with my book club and just with my own mentoring of networkers. Because, even though I still do a little bit of Avon, I'm not a major player anymore with Avon. I'm taking care of my mother. I needed to get out of the selling business.
Right.
I do affiliate. I'm into multiple streams. So it's not in one area. And that's what I want to teach the Avon ladies, the Scentsy ladies, the Tupperware ladies, the Mary Kay ladies, because all of those companies still brand themselves. I thought I was going to be the Avon lady until I was in my 80s and 90s. But see, the problem with being the Avon lady is that then you're not recognized for being the wife, the mother, the sister. You're not recognized for who you are, the skills and the passions that you have.
Right.
And that's where we have to change and understand, especially with using social media, brand yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You don't talk about the company. You talk about who you are.
You
talk about who you are. You just happen to like wearing makeup and helping people find a fragrance that suits them.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But you are not Avon.
You're right. They won't even let you be Avon. They don't want you to be Avon. You're an independent contractor for them.
Right. But
so wife and mother, I mean, it's an avenue.
But Avon doesn't, they still want you to plug in Avon on all your stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And that is branding Avon. They want
for them. Yes.
Right. They still want you to be branded Avon.
Uh-huh.
Not who you are. But people buy from you because of who you are.
Who I am. Yes, absolutely.
So make that your brand. And then you can introduce people to other things, not just Avon.
Not just the one, right?
You get people to know, like, and trust you, especially on social media. See, I'm taking care of my mom. She's going to be 90 this year. And so I've spent the last 2 or 3 years learning how to work on social media, learning how to, market on social media. And so that is where how I'm transversing the next 30 years, because what if I can't drive? What if I, can't do this or I can't do that? I can still have a business. If I have a laptop and the internet, I can still make money. I don't have to live on a fixed income.
And that's my plan for our retirement years. My husband and I've said, have laptop, will travel.
What will travel?
Have laptop, will travel.
Absolutely. But it's building on social media is a journey. It's not an instant anything.
Right.
And so that's what I help girls do. I hope you can come into the book club and go see the other interviews, because if you really enjoyed this one,
I'll do that.
You will love Allison Prince. Will blow you away.
Awesome.
She was phenomenal. But I love them all. I spent almost 2 weeks because they had 4 a night. They did 9 episodes before as they were offering to buy this.
Oh, wow.
And I said, you know what? I said, how many people can spend? I said, it about killed me to spend 4 hours a night, trying to watch all this.
Right.
I said, and it's gone. After those 9 days, it was gone.
Yeah.
I said, I want to try to do one person at a time. So that's why I'm recording them. Even though I have them all on thing, they're not broke up. They're
Yeah.
one right after the other for the nights. Like I've now finished day one with the 4 people.
Okay.
These 4 women now finish episode 1. And I have 9
Wow.
episodes. Well, I actually have 11 episodes.
That's amazing.
So I hope you
I
can
can't
be
wait.
here.
Yeah. I can't wait to see the others. Yes.
Yeah. I don't know, depending on how fast you put it into that, because there's questions.
Okay.
I am with grandbaby today. I'm babysitting. My daughter is had her 10th anniversary, so they're out,
Oh,
and so I'm
wonderful.
babysitting grandbaby. And luckily enough, he's 5 and he's able to sit downstairs with the YouTube.
Yeah.
He knows how to change it. He knows how to do all of that. He's very
They,
self-sufficient.
they
So,
are digital natives.
oh my God. So I told him, just don't bother me when I'm up here
Yeah.
doing this.
Give me a few
Um,
minutes.
And I will be back. You will see the events posted for next week and the Saturday after that. Memorial weekend is going to be the only Saturday that I will not be doing one. And that's because, and then there's another group. If you're interested in me and Mom's trip, we are going on a 35-day trip out west, and it's a 35-day road trip. And the other Facebook group is Celebrating Life, and it's all about celebrating living your life and doing the things that you want. So I'm going to be, I'm starting it. The major part of that group is I've started it, but it's about health because I'm into health. I'm in an opportunity now that is all about people being healthy and families being healthy. And I've just seen too many women, and I'm sure you've seen it with being the Avon woman like I did. You go to half the women that you're delivering to are sick. They've raised their kids, their husbands are either gone or dead.
Right.
Or they're taking care of a sick husband.
Yes.
And they're sick. They don't have a life. They ache, they complain, it's just pitiful.
Right.
I said,
You're right.
I want to teach people that you don't have to live this way.
Uh-huh.
You can make choices and you can change it at any time and make choices to be healthier. If you give your body better stuff, it's amazing what it can do.
Yeah. It's like giving it the right fuel.
It is. It's mandatory. So I appreciate you being here. Did you have any questions for me?
I know right now I'm still processing everything I've learned. And that was so motivating.
I'm glad. I didn't realize my battery wasn't going to last. And when I saw the low battery, I had to run downstairs and get the plug. I didn't know if you could see the banner that said low battery. I didn't know.
No, I didn't. It didn't show up at all.
Oh, that's good because it was all across the screen. I'm going, oh no.
Yeah, no, I was just watching her and I didn't see any of that.
Oh, that's
Thank
good.
you, Karen. I'll be looking. I'll hop on to your book club. So probably
I'll try to get you approved
weekend for sure. Okay.
And get you into the group real quick. Okay.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. Bye bye.